Hi everybody, welcome back to another video, and today is September the 15th of 2024, and that's a Sunday, and that means it's a recap of BYU and Wyoming, and that's coming up right after this. Hi everyone, welcome back to Just Justin. I am Justin, and yes, I am doing the BYU Wyoming recap. All right, so let's start off with, this is the 80th meeting of BYU and Wyoming. They played each other continuously in the WAC and in the Mountain West, and then they've only had a couple games outside of that when BYU went independent. And right now, BYU, before they entered this game, BYU was on a 9-time winning streak. So they beat Wyoming 9 straight times. All right, so will today be number 10? Well, it's an interesting question. All right, so before we get into the game, let's ask ourselves a couple questions. Okay, number one, will Retzloff, Jake, the quarterback for BYU, do good? Will he live up to the starting quarterback role? And then the second one is, will the defense show up for BYU? All right, so let's find out. Okay, so the defense definitely showed up for BYU this game. They held Wyoming to like only one first down, I think, in the whole entire first half. All right, so BYU was really doing something good on the defense. They've been on fire on the defense so far this year, so I'm not sure what exactly happened in the first 3 games, but they've been doing really super good. Now, BYU, they were going down the field, and BYU's quarterback threw a pick on the 1-yard line. All right, so in his 7 starts as a quarterback, he has 10 turnovers so far. Okay, that is a high margin. And Coach Sataki said, secure the ball. Okay, no, he didn't fumble or anything, but he threw a pick. All right, so Wyoming got the ball, they came back out, and BYU went down and scored. Okay, so put BYU up 7-0 in the first quarter. And that's how the first quarter would end, is BYU 7, the Cowboys or Wyoming 0. All right, so after the first quarter, Wyoming punted it away because the defense was doing really super good. BYU got the ball, then went down and scored, and that made it 14-0 in the second quarter. All right. Yeah, the BYU's defense was strong all night, but Wyoming's offense has struggled the first 2 games, and now this game. And so it was a battle for the quarterback, okay? He just could not throw the ball correctly. Well, he threw the ball, but it was always wide and always missing the receivers and stuff like that. So, but he did have legs. The quarterback for Wyoming had some good legs. He ran the ball. He had more yards, I do believe, than the running backs. Okay? And so Wyoming scored in the second quarter, and BYU kicked a field goal, so it was 17-7 going into halftime. All right, so right as the kickoff for the third quarter came, Wyoming kicked it to BYU, and Marion, he caught it in the end zone, about 1 yard deep in the end zone, and he took it to the house. He ran back, and he scored the touchdown, putting BYU at 24-7 right off the bat in the third quarter. And then later on, BYU kicked the field goal, making it 27-7, and then BYU came down and they got a touchdown there late in the third quarter, and that made it 34-7. Now, so BYU is up by 27. Are they going to put a new quarterback in, or are they going to stick with the starting quarterback? Well, they stuck with the starting quarterback for a little bit. All right, and Wyoming did come back, and they did score a touchdown, so making it 34-14. But then BYU put in the 7th-year senior, okay, Gary Bohannon, I think that's his name, Gerrybohanon. Okay, they put him in. So there's an interesting story behind him. All right, so he played for Baylor when BYU and Baylor played, and Baylor beat BYU. Then he moved to South Florida, and BYU beat South Florida when he was there, and he had to take a couple years off due to shoulder surgery, and now he transferred to BYU, and he's the backup quarterback. But from what little plays he played, he did a good job. All right, he threw the ball correctly, precisely and stuff like that. But yeah, he did a good job. It was nice to see someone else in there besides Jake. But will we see him next week? I don't know. All right, so let's look at some of the stats for the game. Okay? All right, so BYU, they had 458 total yards compared to Wyoming's 217. Okay, passing yards was 313, and Wyoming was 140. Rushing yards for BYU was 140, and for Wyoming, 77. First downs, BYU 23, Wyoming 13. Okay, but this is where BYU excelled in, which they shouldn't be excelling in, and Wyoming did a lot better in this stat. Penalties. BYU had 9 penalties for 80 yards. Wyoming had 4 penalties for 48 yards. Let's look at the stats for the quarterback for BYU. Okay, he threw 22 of 36, and the average is 8.1, 3 TDs and 1 touchdown. Okay, and then the backup quarterback came in, and he was 3 for 3, 27 yards, 9 yards average. All right, and then let's jump down to Wyoming's quarterback. He was 14 for 32. He had 140 yards in the air, 4.4 yards average, and he threw 1 interception. Now, interesting thing with the quarterback, okay? I think his name is Sevi. I can't pronounce his name. It's Svoboda. Okay, he had 9 carries for 31 yards and 1 touchdown. Okay, and the rest of the running backs and wide receivers, they had like 21 yards, 17, 8, 4, and 2 yards. So he did have more rushing yards than the running backs. Okay, like I said, he has some good legs on him. He could punish you with his legs. So the BYU-Wyoming game, it was a good rivalry. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been watching BYU and Wyoming for years before BYU went independent. And I have a lot of respect for Wyoming. All right? But they got a new head coach, and so far he's 0-3. It's going to be an uphill battle for him. I do believe in. This is just my opinion, okay? Don't take this as gospel or scripture or anything like that. Just my opinion. He has an uphill battle. All right, guys. So yeah, BYU 34, Wyoming 14. It was a good game, good day in Laramie. I did not go to Laramie because I'm here at my house. I just couldn't make it up there. You'll find out next week why I couldn't do that. All right, and so yeah, Laramie is a good place to play, and Wyoming will do good. Just give them a year or so to get adjusted, and they'll do really super good. I have no problems with Wyoming at all. They are a good team. All right, guys. So next week, BYU plays Kansas State. And Kansas State is Kansas State is coming to Provo, Utah. And Kansas State right now, they're looking really super good. On Friday night, they just rolled over Arizona. And Arizona's a good team. They're ranked up there. So, yeah, Kansas State just rolled all over them. So, it'll be interesting to see how BYU does next week against Kansas State. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And if you found this knowledgeable and stuff like that, and you're like, hey, I want to learn more about the BYU, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell notifications, and it will let you know when I put out another video. Might not be BYU, it might be a cooking with Justin video, it might be a carnivore diet video, or just a random video that I put out on Just Justin. But I would really appreciate it. If you want to leave a comment, go right ahead down there. We can chat about it. All right, guys? Until the next one, I will see you later. Bye.